My parents admitted they sold my car without asking me to get some quick cash for my brother. I paid extra money to get it back and then discovered my parents had also used my name to take out a loan. I stepped out of the Uber exhausted, but relieved to finally be home. The cool evening air felt refreshing after hours of travel, and for a brief moment I allowed myself to relax. Then I saw it. My usual parking spot was empty. No, not empty taken. A different car, a beaten-up sedan with a missing hubcap, sat where my car should have been. My stomach dropped. My breathing slowed, my body stiffening as I stared at the space where my car used to be. Maybe I had parked somewhere else before I left. No, I never did that. Slowly, almost mechanically, I reached into my coat pocket and wrapped my fingers around my car keys. The cold metal pressed into my palm, familiar and reassuring. My keys. My car. My rules. Or at least that's how it was supposed to be. A sharp chill crawled up my spine. My grip tightened around the keys until the jagged edges dug into my skin. My pulse pounded in my ears as I turned and walked inside. I could still remember the day I bought it, how I had sat at my desk night after night, calculating, budgeting, cutting down every unnecessary expense just to afford the down payment. How I had taken extra shifts, worked late hours, said no to vacations, and nights out with friends. The moment I had signed the papers at the dealership, my hands shaking from excitement, was one of the proudest moments of my life. It wasn't just a car, it was proof. Proof that I could take care of myself, that I didn't need to rely on anyone. And now it was gone. "Mom, where's my car?" My voice was sharper than I intended, but panic had already set in. Mom and Dad were sitting at the dining table looking at me like they had been preparing for this moment, like they knew exactly what I was about to ask. Dad cleared his throat. "Sweetheart, we had to sell it." A rush of cold spread through my chest. The words didn't register at first. "You what?" "Your brother needed help," Mom added quickly, her voice almost apologetic, almost. "You know how much he's been struggling? He needed the money." A sharp, burning sensation bloomed behind my ribs. Of course, my brother, the family's delicate little prince, the golden child who always needed help. The same brother who had dropped out of college, refused to keep a job, and somehow always ended up in trouble, yet never faced any real consequences. And now, once again, I was expected to be the one to pay for it. I tightened my grip on my keys, feeling the ridges press painfully into my palm. My fingers twitched with the urge to throw them across the room. Instead, I let out a short, humorless laugh. "You sold my car. The car I bought with my own money, without even asking me." Dad sighed as if I was the unreasonable one. "You have a great job, sweetheart. You can buy another one." "But your brother—" "You weren't even using it while you were away." Mom cut in, her voice edging toward defensive. I stared at her, my jaw tightening. "Excuse me?" "It was just sitting there," she continued, shifting uncomfortably under my glare. "And your brother, he's been going through a lot. We thought you'd understand." A slow, hot wave of fury rolled over me, stiffening my shoulders, making my fingers curl into fists. My nails dug into my palms, sharp and punishing, grounding me in the moment. I took a deep breath, forcing my voice to stay even. "Where's the money?" Mom hesitated. "Well, we already gave it to him." Of course they did. I could already picture exactly where that money went. Probably another doomed startup idea or a luxury gadget that was absolutely essential for work. My brother never changed because he never had to. There was always someone willing to clean up his mess. I exhaled slowly, then looked down at the keys in my hand. Just a few minutes ago, they had meant something. They had been a symbol of my independence, my hard work. Now they were nothing more than useless metal. I let them slide through my fingers, the clinking sound echoing in the silent room. They thought they had taken something from me. They thought I would let this go, that I would be understanding like always, that I'd just sigh, swallow my anger, and move on. They had no idea. Tonight I wouldn't waste my time arguing. I had better things to do, because tomorrow morning they would wake up in a completely different reality. I barely slept that night. Anger, disappointment, and a deep sense of betrayal swirled in my head, refusing to let me rest. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw my mother's dismissive expression, my father's tired sigh, the way they had justified selling my car as if it was the most natural thing in the world. They expected me to accept it to move on. They had no idea who they were dealing with. By the time the sun began to rise, my plan was already forming. I got out of bed, stretched my aching limbs, and walked over to my desk. My laptop hummed to life as I opened a fresh document and started typing. I needed a list, a step-by-step breakdown of everything I had to do. 1. Find out who bought my car. If it was sold to a dealership, there was a chance I could buy it back. If it was sold privately, I needed to track down the buyer. If the money had already been wasted on my brother's nonsense, I had to make sure they never touched a dime of my earnings again. 2. Secure my finances. Change my banking passwords, remove my parents from any shared accounts, make sure they had no access to my savings. 3. Confront my brother. He was the real culprit here. If he thought he could take from me without consequences, he was about to get a reality check. With the list complete, I took a deep breath. This wasn't just about a stolen car. This was about taking back control, about making sure they understood that I wasn't their personal ATM, their backup plan, their silent, obedient provider. They had stolen from me. Now I was going to take something from them. By mid-morning, I was sitting in a quiet corner of my favorite coffee shop sipping a strong espresso while scrolling through my phone. My first call was to the local DMV. I pretended to be checking on a recently sold vehicle using the car's VIN number 1 I had memorized long ago to request information. The clerk on the other end was polite but firm. "I'm sorry, but I can't release that information to anyone except the registered owner." Fine. That was expected. I had another way. I logged into my old insurance portal and checked my policy. There it was, the cancellation notice. My car had been taken off my insurance just 2 days ago. A new name was listed under the transfer. Harrison Auto Sales. A used car dealership. Perfect. The dealership wasn't far, just a 20-minute drive. I borrowed a car from a friend, one of the few people in my life I actually trusted, and pulled into the lot. The place was nothing special. Rows of mid-range sedans and SUVs, a few overpriced sports cars, and a small glass-walled office in the center. I walked inside, scanning the room until I spotted a tired-looking salesman in his late 40s. His name tag read Mike. "Morning," he greeted me with a professional but uninterested nod. "Looking for something in particular?" "Yes," I said, pulling up a photo of my car on my phone. "This, a black 2020 Toyota Camry. I believe you bought it recently." Mike frowned and leaned closer, scratching his chin. "Camry, huh? Let me check our records." He tapped at his computer for a moment before nodding. "Yeah, came in 2 days ago. Sold already." My stomach clenched. "Sold? Yep. Guy came in yesterday, paid cash." "Who?" Mike hesitated, then shook his head. "Sorry, we don't give out customer information." I exhaled slowly, forcing myself to stay calm. "Listen," I said, lowering my voice just a little. "That car was sold without my permission. I just need to know who bought it. I won't do anything crazy. I just need to talk to them." Mike hesitated again, then sighed. "All right. Look, I can't tell you who bought it, but if I happen to leave this invoice right here on the counter while I step out for a coffee..." He let the sentence hang as he turned and walked toward the break room, leaving his computer screen unlocked. I didn't waste time. I leaned over, scanning the most recent sale entry. Buyer Andrew Collins. Address 742 Riverside Drive. Gotcha. Riverside Drive was a quiet suburban neighborhood, not the kind of place where people typically buy used cars in cash. That meant one of two things. Andrew Collins was either someone who really needed a cheap ride fast, or he was a middleman flipping the car for profit. Either way, I needed to talk to him. I parked a few houses away and walked up to his driveway. The Camry was there, parked neatly under a tree, looking exactly as I remembered it. My fists clenched involuntarily. I rang the doorbell. A moment later, a man in his early 30s answered. Tall, scruffy beard, tired eyes. He looked me up and down clearly, trying to figure out if I was a salesperson or a problem. "Yeah," I kept my expression neutral. "Are you Andrew Collins?" "Who's asking?" "My name is Anna. That car in your driveway, it was sold without my consent. I'm here to buy it back." Andrew sighed and rubbed his face. "Look, man, I don't want any trouble. I paid good money for that car. I'm not here to cause trouble. I just want to make this right. He studied me for a long moment, then nodded toward the car. All right, come inside. Let's talk. As I stepped into his house, I knew one thing for sure. This wasn't just about getting my car back. This was about making sure my family never stole from me again. And I was only getting started. Andrew led me into his living room, a modest space with a worn-out couch, a coffee table covered in receipts, and an old TV playing the news at low volume. The air smelled like stale coffee and cigarette smoke. Look, he said, motioning for me to sit. I get that you're upset, but I didn't steal your car. I paid for it fair and square. I stayed standing. I understand. I'm not accusing you. But I need to know, how much did you pay for it? He sighed and rubbed the back of his neck. $7,000 cash. $7,000. They sold my car, a car. I worked my butt off to afford for $7,000. It was worth at least 3 times that amount. My jaw tightened. Did they tell you why they were selling it? Andrew shook his head. Guy said his kid was in trouble. Needed money fast. I don't usually ask questions when someone's in a hurry to sell. Typical. My parents had undersold my hard-earned car to bail out my brother again, and they had done it so quickly they didn't even bother getting a decent price for it. I took a deep breath, trying to think. I could threaten Andrew, demand the car back, but that wouldn't get me anywhere. He wasn't the enemy here. So I changed my approach. Listen, I said, pulling my phone out of my pocket. I'll make you a deal. You bought the car for $7,000, right? Yeah, I'll give you 10. Andrew raised an eyebrow. 10. Cash. He considered it for a moment, then leaned forward. 15. I let out a humorless chuckle. You serious? Look, man, I got a good deal, sure. But I also paid for new registration insurance, oil change. Not to mention I already liked the car. He leaned back, folding his arms. 15. I wanted to punch a wall, paying double for my own car just to fix my parents' mess. Unbelievable. But I wasn't about to walk away empty-handed. Fine, I said through gritted teeth. 15. I left Andrew's place with my car and a burning determination. This wasn't just about getting back what was mine. It was about making sure they never did this to me again. As I drove back toward my parents' house, my mind raced through possibilities. I had options, plenty of them, and this time, I wasn't going to be the forgiving one. My phone buzzed. A text from my mother. Mom, sweetheart, we know you were upset last night. Come home for dinner. Let's talk. I stared at the message, my grip tightening on the wheel. Talk. They hadn't even apologized. They just expected me to get over it like I always did, like I always had. Not this time. I typed back a response. Me sure. See you tonight. When I pulled into the driveway that evening, my usual parking spot was empty. No sign of the beaten-up sedan that had been there before. I smirked. They must have thought I wasn't coming back for my car, that I'd let it go. Fools. I walked inside to find my parents and my brother already seated at the dining table. The smell of roasted chicken and garlic mashed potatoes filled the air. Mom's classic, let's make piecemeal. Sweetheart. Mom greeted me, standing up to hug me like nothing had happened. I'm so glad you came. I didn't return the hug. Instead, I pulled out my phone and set it on the table screen facing up. Dad frowned. What's this? I tapped the screen. A voice recording started playing. Yeah, came in 2 days ago. Sold already. Sold, yep. Guy came in yesterday. Paid cash. Who? Sorry, we don't give out customer information. Mom's smile faltered. Dad's face went pale. I went to the dealership, I said, my voice calm but cold. Tracked down the buyer, paid $15,000 to get my car back. My car which you sold without my permission. A heavy silence filled the room. You did what? My brother finally blurted out, his fork clattering onto his plate. I got my car back, I repeated. And now we're going to talk about how you're going to pay me back every single cent. Dad shook his head. Sweetheart, that's not how family works. Sometimes we make sacrifices for each other. I slammed my hand down on the table. Sacrifices, I snapped. I make sacrifices every time it's me. When has he? I pointed at my brother, who was now shifting uncomfortably in his seat, ever sacrificed a single thing for me. Mom opened her mouth, but I didn't let her speak. You know what? I continued. Forget the money. I don't even care about it anymore. What? What I care about is this. You will never get a single dollar from me again. Dad's eyes narrowed. Don't be ridiculous. I smiled. Already moved my accounts. Froze the shared one you had access to. Changed my direct deposit. From now on, you're on your own. Mom's hand flew to her mouth in shock. But we're family. I leaned forward, meeting her gaze. Family doesn't steal from each other. For the first time in my life, I watched as they panicked. Dad looked like he wanted to explode, but he had nothing to say. Mom's eyes darted between me and my brother as if hoping he'd jump in and defend them. He didn't. Instead, my brother sat back, crossed his arms, and muttered, "So what? You think you're better than us now?" I let out a breathless laugh. Number one, I just think I'm done with you. I grabbed my phone, stood up, and walked toward the door. As I reached for the handle, I turned back one last time. Oh, and one more thing, I added, smirking. Since you're so good at selling things that don't belong to you, let's see how you like it when it happens to you. My brother frowned. What the hell does that mean? I just winked and walked out. They'd find out soon enough. I woke up the next morning feeling lighter than I had in years. For the first time, I wasn't carrying the weight of their expectations, their problems, their manipulations. The look on my parents' faces when I told them they were on their own, priceless. But I wasn't done yet. They had stolen from me, and I had taken back what was mine. Now it was time to make sure they never stole from me again. I had spent my whole life being the responsible one, the provider, the backup plan for my parents and their golden child. But what happens when the person they've been leeching off finally cuts them off? They start to drown, and I was going to make sure they felt every inch of it. The first thing I did was check my financial accounts. I had already locked down my savings and cut my parents off from anything they had access to, but there was still one loose end, my brother. I pulled up his name in my banking app and checked for any recurring transactions. Sure enough, I found one. $500 automatic transfer every month. I clenched my jaw. When had I agreed to this? Oh, that's right. I hadn't. A few years ago, my mother had asked me for a little help covering some of my brother's expenses while he was getting back on his feet. I had agreed to send money once, just a one-time thing. But apparently she had set up an automatic recurring payment without telling me. I canceled it immediately, then just for fun, I sent my brother a text. Me, hey, just a heads up, you're not getting another cent from me, ever. Him, what are you talking about? Me, check your bank account. It took him less than 2 minutes to respond. Him, did you cancel my money? Me, my money. And yes, consider it an early lesson in self-sufficiency. Him, you can't just do that. Me, I literally just did. Him, Mom and Dad said you wouldn't be this selfish. I laughed out loud. Selfish me. The person who had been paying for his nonsense for years, I didn't bother responding. Let him scream into the void. Next, I decided to do some digging. If my parents had been desperate enough to sell my car behind my back, what else were they hiding? I logged into my credit report and ran a full check on my accounts. And that's when I found it. A hard inquiry on my credit score, meaning someone had tried to take out a loan in my name. I felt a slow boiling rage crawl up my spine. They wouldn't. They couldn't. I clicked on the details. Loan applicant my father. Reason for denial, insufficient income, and lack of authorization from primary account holder. My hands curled into fists. So they had tried to steal even more from me, this time by opening a loan in my name. They had failed, thank God, but the fact that they even tried was unforgivable. I grabbed my phone and called my bank. Hi, I need to put a fraud alert on my accounts. My identity may have been compromised. The customer service rep was helpful and efficient. Within minutes, I had locked down every single account, updated my security settings, and flagged my parents' attempted fraud. Next, I sent one final message to my parents' group chat. Me. Just checked my credit report. You actually tried to take out a loan in my name. Are you insane, Mom? Sweetheart, we were going to pay it back. Dad, stop overreacting. It's just paperwork. We needed some short-term help. Me. Help you were trying to commit identity fraud. Mom, that's not what this is. You're making it sound worse than it is. I stared at my phone in disbelief. They weren't even sorry. They weren't even trying to deny it. They genuinely believed this was okay. I took a deep breath and typed out the last message I would ever send them. Me. You just made my decision even easier. You will never see another cent from me again. Ever. Then I blocked them. Now that my family was officially cut off from my money, I wanted to make sure they felt it, and I knew exactly how. I logged into my email and pulled up the contact information for my parents' landlord. See, here's the thing about living off your successful child. When that child walks away, things get ugly. My parents had been living in the same house for over 10 years, always somehow scraping by, always somehow getting an extension when rent was due. But I also knew a little secret. Their landlord was tired of their nonsense. I had overheard my dad complaining months ago about how the landlord was getting too nosy about their payments and nagging them about rent. So I sent a polite professional email. Subject: urgent information regarding parents' address. Dear Mr. Landlord, I hope this email finds you well. I wanted to inform you that as of today, I am no longer financially supporting my parents' mom's name and dad's name who currently rent from you at address. I understand that they may have previously used my financial situation to reassure you about their ability to pay rent. However, I want to clarify that they no longer have access to my funds in any way. If they attempt to use my name, savings, or credit to guarantee any future payments, please be advised that they do not have my permission. Best regards, Anna. I hit send and leaned back in my chair, exhaling slowly. It wouldn't take long for the fallout to hit. The first cracks showed 3 days later. A text from my cousin. Cousin, yo, uncle is freaking out. Did you really cut them off? Me, yep, cousin. He's talking about eviction. He says the landlord suddenly isn't cooperating with them anymore. I smirked. Me, not my problem. Cousin, you really did it. Me, I really did. And I wasn't done yet. 3 weeks. That's how long it took for everything to fall apart. 3 weeks since I blocked my parents. 3 weeks since I cut off my brother. 3 weeks since I sent that email to their landlord. And now they were drowning. At first there was silence. No texts, no calls, no desperate emails. But then the messages started coming from other people. Cousin dude, your parents are losing their minds. Your mom called my mom crying, says they might lose the house. Old family friend. Hey, I don't know what happened between you and your folks, but your dad's been asking around for money. He's telling people you abandoned them, just a heads up. Former neighbor. Not sure if you care, but I saw a moving truck outside your parents' place. Looked like they were being forced out. I read every message with quiet satisfaction. Actions have consequences. One evening, I got a message from a new number. You think you're so incredibly smart, don't you? I smirked. Only one person could be that entitled. Me, new number. Who dis? Don't mess with me, you ruined my life. I laughed out loud. Ruined his life. Oh no, no, no. He had done that all by himself. Me. What happened? Did mommy and daddy finally tell you to get a job? Him. You don't get it. They had to leave because of you. They're staying with some distant cousin now, and I have nowhere to go, so that was it. For the first time in his life, there was no safety net. No parents covering his rent. No me covering his bills. No easy way out. And he was pissed. Him. You're so selfish. You could have helped me. I did help for years, and all it got me was betrayal. Him. Forget you. I didn't respond. I didn't need to. I had won. A few days later, an unknown number tried calling me. I didn't answer. Then an email popped up. Subject, please, we need to talk. I stared at it for a long moment, then finally clicked it. Sweetheart, we don't know what else to do. We lost the house. Your brother is struggling. We're staying with relatives, but it's not sustainable. We made a mistake. Maybe we shouldn't have sold your car. Maybe we shouldn't have tried to take out that loan, but we are family. Can't we just start over? Please, we need your help. Love, Mom and Dad. I leaned back in my chair, staring at the screen. Now they were sorry. Not when they sold my car. Not when they tried to steal from me. Not when they called me selfish for refusing to clean up their mess. Only when it was too late. I cracked my knuckles and started typing. Subject, my final answer. Mom and Dad, you're right. We were family. But family doesn't steal. Family doesn't lie. Family doesn't betray their own. You didn't care when I lost something important to me. You didn't care when I begged for respect. Now I don't care what happens to you. This is the last time you will ever hear from me. Don't call, don't email, don't try to reach me through others. I'm done. Goodbye. I hit send and blocked their email. And just like that, I was free. Update 1 year later. It's been a year since I cut them off. A beautiful, peaceful, stress-free year. No more begging for my time. No more guilt-tripping phone calls. No more watching my hard work go to waste on people who never appreciated it. As for my family, my parents are still struggling. Last I heard, they burned through their relatives' goodwill and had to move into a small rental. My brother finally got a job. Turns out working is a lot harder than living off others. And me, I'm thriving. I took the money I had saved and bought myself a new car, one no one could ever take from me. I traveled. I focused on my career. I surrounded myself with real friends, people who actually respected me. And not once, not for a single moment did I regret my decision. Because in the end, cutting them off wasn't just about revenge, it was about freedom. And I'll never let anyone take that from me again.